I always loved history as a kid, and I think it's because history is a story. It's just a real story about something that happened. And I think kids are introduced to history often in a very unexciting way, in a way that makes them feel that they're not connected to it, that it's stuff that happened long ago, but not to them, not to anybody they knew. And when I started to feel a sense of connection to history and got really engaged by it, I think it was just a natural feeling that I'd like to communicate that. In the old days, before the internet, I'd go to the library first. Now I'd probably go online first and Google the topic in any old way I can, because sometimes you don't get it directly, you have to go around it. But I also take books out of the library, and the first books I take out are kids' books because they're written clearly and they're usually much more engaging than a lot of adult books, not all adult books. And then I'll take adult books out and often use the index to supplement the material, because adult books tend to go on and on and on and on. But so it's kind of a mix. It's a mix of internet, books, newspaper articles, and kids' books first and adult books next. I want kids to think that history is what happened 5 seconds ago, because 5 seconds ago is finished. That history 100 years ago happened to real people just like you and me. That history isn't isolated, that what happened to people long ago affects us today. That it's also about a story. History is a story. It's just a story from long ago maybe, that of people you didn't meet, but people you might have met if you lived next door to them. Or there may be a connection through your own family history or your own ethnic background, or there are tons of connections. You are not isolated from history. You are part of history. You're continuing history. Learning about how you're part of the world that keeps going and changing, and how you're part of the world that had already happened, I think is really important. I'm going to tell you why I liked history, and it wasn't because of the textbooks and the way it was taught. It was because I'd watch historical movies, and they were great. Probably incredibly inaccurate, but they were a story. They were romantic, they were dramatic, they had a gorgeous setting, they had people riding on horses, or there were romances, or there was drama. And as soon as I'd see one of those movies, I'd run to the library and take out a book about the person I'd seen the movie about. And then I'd really be interested, because my interest had already been aroused by reading the story. A joke I always tell, and it's a true joke, is that my friend Sydney, who I used to talk to my right, was ahead of his time with graphic style. He'd put captions in our history book, and his captions were very funny and sometimes outrageous. And I always say that part of my interest in making history come alive was because Sydney captioned our history books. And I've written a fair bit of time travel. You imagine yourself going back in time. What would it be like? What would the people be like? What would they say to you? What problems would you get in the middle of? What drama? What danger? And I think that's the way to get kids interested, is make sure you get them to see it as a story.